Now, first tree up, I think Phil was the first one with his tree, I reckon. Or is it Heather's tree? Whose tree is that?
Heather's.
That's my tree. That's actually a Japanese maple that I started to plant. Not that tree. That's not mine. That's not mine. That's Gail or Brian's tree.
Oh, that's not.
That's ours. There.
The upright ours.
Okay, Heather, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute.
You can mute me. Yeah, right.
And mute everyone else for a sec.
Yeah.
How do you do that, mate? Please, how do you do that?
Okay, I'm just muting a few people. Okay, everyone's muted themselves. Okay, okay, Heather, do you want to talk about your tree? Yours is the slanting cascade.
Yep, it is a Japanese maple, which I'd planned to have as a windswept. But I'm finding that everything wants to go straight up. Can you actually see my tree?
Yeah, I can see it well.
Okay. So I'm wondering whether I should give it its head and let it go straight up instead of trying to make it windswept, and take it out of the pot and, just make it a straight tree rather than windswept. And I don't mean straight as in straight, because I know what's going to happen. I go to twist it, when I go to stand it up straight, the trunk.
What'll happen is that can they see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they can.
Yeah, we can see it well.
So I just want some advice, and I know it badly needs cutting, and it's got too much on it and stuff like that. But I just want some advice, really. Should I persevere with the windswept? The rock on it probably doesn't do anything. When I first did it, I think the rock was more slanting in the same direction as the tree.
Yeah.
Philip's going to alter that. So going like the other way, like that. Yeah. Advice?
Okay, just hang on a sec. I'm just drawing something here.
Okay.
I think, hang on, let me try and do two things at once here. I quite like the leaning, but rather than windswept, it's sort of like a semi-cascade. It looks to me, I quite like the rock too and the angle that it's on at the moment. But I think it looks like a tree that's, for some reason, something's knocked it over at some stage, and now it's and now the branches are growing upright again.
Yep.
I think, getting a deciduous to do a windswept is hard.
Yeah.
I think as a semi-cascade, I think it could look really nice. I quite like it. So in a smaller pot, and as you said, if you've cut back, give it severely cut back, I think that lower branch, like the lower one,
Yes.
it's
This one.
Yeah, it's a big semicircle. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it's dark with not much movement. You could cut it back to that first.
So back to here.
Yeah, cut it back to there. That way you get kind of a bit more movement, and then cut that right.
So when
that way you would then get some movement in that lower branch, because that kind of semi-cascade, that semicircle soft arc doesn't match the rest of the tree. But if you cut it back to that point,
okay.
sorry, can you just hang on for 2 seconds? I think that's Luke on the floor. It's Luke trying to get in.
Hang on, not yet.
You see that picture? I'm not sure if it's backwards or forwards, but see how I've kind of I've lessened that picture. That
Yep.
that lower branch, shortened it a bit,
Yes.
and then if you continue everything else going, that'll work. I'm going to just hang on 2 secs. Hey Luke, how you doing? You there? He's not there.
Oh,
So,
I thought he went quiet. Unless
Yeah,
my ear
okay.
rang him up. Well, hang on to your phone anyway.
what I'm going to do is I think Luke's trying to get in.
People know this tree.
Okay, just let me check something. So I'm just trying to get Luke on board.
Okay.
This is the waiting room. Okay, can I just, I'm just going to send a text to Luke.
Okay.
So he's trying to join, but he can't get in. Try the link in Annie's email.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So you see what I'm saying?
Yep. So if I cut it back, do I
Yep.
cut it so that I leave? So where the V is
Yep.
here, just cut it back to
Yep.
where Phil's about to chop it.
About there, yep, that looks good to me.
Okay.
It's
And the
important to leave a stump.
Yep, okay. So leave the rest like it is or cut that one back as well? Because that one actually, you probably can't see. It's
Can you
sort of,
spin it around? Ah, there we go.
so you've got all this as well.
Yeah, see, I'd be cutting back and leaving at least 2 of those uprights, maybe getting rid of the rest. You're going to need to wire it,
Yep,
and then I'd be cutting all of those branches back. You got a lot of really long shoots.
yes,
Take them all back to the lowest pair.
yep. Back to there, Matt.
Yeah, that
Well-
looks good.
Yep,
Yep, try there. We can always go back further if you need to. But all of those long branches that you've got, all those long shoots you've got all over the tree,
yep. They need to come back. Yep,
up back to the lowest pair of buds you can see.
yep, okay.
So it's a Japanese maple. They produce buds in pairs.
Yep,
And go over the whole tree. Yep, that's good.
yep. Okay.
And once you've taken all those long ones back,
Yep.
okay, Luke's having trouble. I wonder if this is why other people can't. Hey, quick question. Who joined the meeting? Who's the last one to join the meeting?
Bruce, I think.
Bruce. Did you follow the link in the
It didn't work.
Well, Rod's
Yeah.
coming on now, so.
It didn't work. I had to go back to the earlier email about 6 or 8 days ago.
Ah, okay. I wonder if that's what's going on. That's why we haven't got many people joining. They may not be able to.
What did you use, Phil?
The old link didn't work. The new link didn't work for me either.
Okay.
Okay,
Matt.
how old? Yeah.
The email that Annie sent out
Yep.
takes you off to Zoom and it asks for phone numbers and all sorts of odds and ends. And I sort of said, no, that's not working for me. So I went back to a previous link and picked it up from there.
Okay, that's what's happened. So the email that Annie sent had the wrong link.
Well, it's not wrong. It just asked for a phone number and a joining code and
Yeah,
You sort
okay,
of-
that's
And yet, bizarrely, Philip, it let me straight in.
yeah, don't know.
But then I was first, so maybe that has something to do with it too.
yeah, okay.
You got straight in.
I did.
All right. Just hang on a sec. Yeah, that may have been a problem. This may be why we haven't got many more people here. So
Yeah,
Luke's-
I had problems getting in.
Did you?
Yeah, I finished up, went back to one of the old ones, like Phil said.
Yeah, okay. I haven't looked at the. Yeah, okay. That's probably what's happening. All right, let's keep looking. Okay, that tree's looking heaps better.
Yep.
I do have one question. How come Heather's not doing this, Philip?
Because I'm
She's eating her tea.
Oh, okay.
The other thing you might want to do is get some wire onto, especially onto that lower branch, and
Yep.
you may need to. I can't see if that lowest branch is coming towards you. It looks like it might be moving away from you.
Coming to me, and I'm behind the tree.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
moving.
okay. You might want to try and maybe swing it forward a bit if you can, or so that it's not shaded. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
It'd be good to have that lower branch coming slightly towards you.
Okay.
I haven't
think-
any white at the moment.
The other thing you could do, how long has it been in that pot, Heather?
Oh,
3 years.
3 years, maybe 4 years.
Okay. I'd give it, I'd repot it into
Yep.
something smaller
Yes.
because you don't, or two reasons. One, aesthetically, it'll look nicer in a smaller pot.
Yep.
Secondly, you want to slow the growth down as much as you can because you'll
Okay.
now do the smaller, twiggier, finer branches.
Yep.
And therefore, you want those internodes to be as small as possible. Short as possible.
Yep.
So putting it into a smaller pot will slow it down over the next few years as well, which is what
Yep.
you want.
Yep. What colour pot would you suggest?
Okay, well, Luke's just come online, so we
Well, it'll be a blue pot then.
Well, if we were Japanese, you'd have a blue glazed pot just like you've got.
Yep.
But look, I think for me, Luke will have some say in this matter, but for me, I like the glazed pots for the Japanese maples.
Yep.
But that's totally up to you. Hi, Luke.
Hello, I made it.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, I think we had an issue with the link that Annie sent out. I haven't actually looked at it. It looks like it was the wrong link.
I wonder.
Yeah, I managed to get there from the old email.
Yeah, that's what other people did as well. If you want to look, Heather's got a lovely little Japanese maple that we've just trimmed back, and she's good timing because she's wondering about a pot. And I heard you've got, you know something about pots.
A little bit.
Just a tad.
I said there was no point in asking you, Luke, because the first thing you'd say is, look, I can make you the exact perfect pot.
But we're not buying pots. Let me tell you, we are not definitely not buying pots.
Do you favour the exposed roots as well, Heather, or do you want to cover those up?
No, I like these exposed roots. You don't?
Well, me personally, no. I was just thinking with that rock that's in the pot, if you're going to transport both into a new pot, give some thought to moving the rock closer to the trunk of the tree a little bit.
Yeah, yep, okay. The other thing I wondered about is the back of the tree. If you turn that around, Philip, just have a look at the back of it. I mean, it's got a lot of stuff on the back of it as well. Can you see that or not? Hang on. Can you see that, Matt, or not?
I can see that. Can you pull it back a bit so I can see the whole tree? Like that?
Hang on.
I think I still prefer. I think I still prefer the other side.
No, yeah, but should I do something with the back of it as well as the front?
Yes.
Oh, you mean as in the branches, or you talking about the?
Because at the moment there's not a lot on the front, but there's still a lot on the back.
I agree. It needs to be reduced. It's a bit hard for me to tell which bits you need to reduce, but you need to untangle it a bit.
Yep, it needs to be clarified and thinned out a bit, but, I can only do so much in 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't criticising you at all.
No, I think
No comment.
Come on. Okay, all right. Well, that's given me some ideas anyway about what to do with it. So that's great. Thank you very much.
Just hang on a second. How close do you reckon the top wants to be?
Yeah.
I mean, I Get it much
You won't
closer
be able
than
to get
that.
any closer.
Yeah, I think that's better.
Yeah.
Has there been a discussion about the pot, or is that?
Well,
We were waiting
something-
for you.
Something smaller, and I mean, I still like the blue glaze pots. So
Yeah, the blue is fine. The issue really with the pot is the visual weight.
yep,
And
yes, I agree.
so without saying size, the visual weight, and also the negative space that's created between the lip of the pot and the lowest branch on the tree.
Right.
You see, I mean, it really depends on what the story is with the tree, or, you know, what sort of story you want this thing to tell. You know, why it's leaning out at an angle, you know, what sort of environment is this tree growing in. It's quite a, you know, fairly light, airy looking tree, really. I mean, that rock there anchors it nicely. But it, you know, it looks like this thing is sort of, you know, it wants to be kind of gone with the wind. You know, it's really being whisked along there. But the weight of the pot, because it's quite a dark colour and because it's quite wide as well,
Yep.
it pulls the whole thing down visually. So I'd kind of like to see a much more negative space in there by a much narrower pot. You know, normally when we're thinking about, oh, this thing needs to be a smaller pot, you know, we're trying to get something into a shallower pot. And I don't know that it needs to be shallower. You just need to get rid of some of the bulk. So I could see it in a pot that's the same depth, but less width. So I've done a 2-second sketch.
Oh, what, more like a higher pot?
Well, it wouldn't be any higher. It's just not as wide.
Okay, all right.
It looks taller.
Yeah.
But if you have a look at the width of the trunk versus the depth of the pot in this drawing and what it's in now,
Yep.
The depth of the pot is actually the same. But because the width of the pot is much narrower, and in this case I've drawn this one as a round pot,
yep.
There's much more focus on the movement of the tree.
Sure.
With the very wide pot that it's in now,
Yep.
you lose some of the movement of the tree.
Yep.
Because the pot itself, you know, a long shape like that that it's in now is a shape that has movement itself, whereas a round pot is a static shape.
Okay.
Doesn't have, you know, movement itself, and so in a round static shape like that, there's more of the movement of the tree is carried. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep. Yep. I actually, when I look at it, I can see what you're saying, because when I look at it, my eyes are drawn to the pot before they are drawn to the tree.
Yeah, because of its
Because
bulk
the weight.
and
the
visual weight. The little square pot that you've got there, maybe a bit too small.
So there.
But it's at least a, just as the round pot is, it's a static shape.
Yep.
You know, that square pot is grounded, it's staying there, it's not, you know, taking off like that longer pot you've got there. So yeah, I think a static shape, round or square, would help the movement of the tree.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for that advice. I will look for a smaller pot.
Heather, the other thing I was going to say is, if you, when you repot it, if you try not to prune the roots too much, if you prune, actually, sorry, other way around. You've taken a fair bit off the top, so you want to give the roots a fairly hard prune.
Yeah. Okay.
And it will take it. It's a deciduous tree, it's a Japanese maple. You could take off 2/3 of the roots, and it will be fine.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and also, if you take up a lot of the roots, the resulting growth will be nice and small as well. Smaller.
Okay.
Because you've taken a fair bit off now. If you didn't repot it now, you would be, that tree would come back. It would have the same amount of roots, a lot less shoots. So the resulting growth would be very strong. You'd have great big long internodes, and you'd be back to where you were before. If you give it a nice hard cut on the roots, there'll be less energy coming up. Therefore, the leaves will be smaller, the internodes will be smaller, and that's what you want to be doing with this tree now. You want to be encouraging as fine and smaller growth as possible.
Yep.
And have you seen that technique in spring, when the buds just start to open, how you prise open the leaves and pull the centre bud out?
No, I haven't, but I'm sure Phil has.
Yeah, Phil, I can see Phil's nodding his head.
Yes.
That's what you need to be doing on that tree. When the little buds, they come out, and you can actually prise them apart and remove the centre shoots. Look on YouTube or on somewhere, you'll see it everywhere. That's what I'd be doing with that tree, and getting as fine as you possibly can. Because I can imagine that tree with really fine tips would look fantastic.
Yep, okay. Just one other thing. Seeing we're cutting it back now, it would, my understanding would be that it would be advisable to leave it a couple of weeks before we did the roots and repot.
Yeah, it's a bit early. I wouldn't be repotting it now because...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's just going to sit there and sulk, and it's going to get cold, and the roots aren't going to be happy. Wait until the weather starts to warm up.
Just before it starts its spring growth. Exactly
right, yes.
Yep,
That's the ideal time to do it.
Yep, excellent. Thank you very much, Matt and Luke.
Cool, that's a great tree. Like it, yeah.
And Philip.
And Phil. Okay, does anybody else want to say anything about that tree before we move on?
The only thing I'd like to say is that splitting of the leaves, as you said, Kelvin Rodriguez said that works very well with reducing the size of your leaves down on your ash trees too.
Yeah, I do it on ash and fig.
Do you? All right.
Yep, I've seen them do that on ash trees as well.
I've not done maple, but I've certainly done it 100 times on figs and, almost as many on ash.
Yeah, I remember I did it once many years ago, and I tried maple and I killed it. So I wouldn't recommend it for a Trident maple, but other people might have other experiences. The next, hang on a sec, please just sip my drink. Lacey, can you go and get me a towel? Sorry. The next one out of tree was Hugo.
Drink it.
Sorry?
You're not supposed to spill it, you're supposed to drink it.
Well, I did. I put it on the ground. So I had a little glass of pork here, and thank you, Macy. I need to. And somebody's knocked it over. All right, Hugo, you had a tree. You were the second one up. Do you want to start talking about your tree, Hugo?
You'll have to unmute him.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you. Hang on, Hugo. Hang on. He's not there. Oh, no, here he is. It's not letting me. It says ask to unmute. Okay, I can't get... if you can hear me, Hugo, you need to get somebody to unmute you so that you can start talking. In the meantime, while we wait for that, there was another maple. I think it was... Brian.
Yep, here we are.
Here we are.
Fantastic. Tell us about your tree.
It's a tree that I bought at our national. So I've had it for a few years. Whenever that was, I don't quite remember. When we had it in Harney Street. But I bought it then, and I've basically done nothing with it. It's apart from putting it into a pot and watering it. Once a year,
All right now.
but that's all that's been.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, we got Hugo on.
Oh, here you go.
Can you hear me now? No.
Yeah. Yep, there we go.
Hey, there's Hugo.
Can you hear me?
How's that going?
Mate, you need volume up. Thumbs up.
That's all right.
Hugo, if you can hear me, do you want to start talking about your tree?
He's gone to get his helper.
Okay.
He doesn't believe that we can hear him. No, he's coming back.
Put your finger on the bottom there, she said.
We can hear you, Hugo.
Yeah. No, they can't hear you.
You happy with that?
No, they can't hear me.
Yes, we can.
They can't hear you. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Right. I don't know if it's my turn, but tell me whether it is.
Go, Hugo.
Right? Pardon?
Go for it.
Go for it. Oh, well. Can you see the tree? What do I have to do with the tree to get it shown there?
That's all the problem.
Where's Hugo gone?
If Hugo turns his form to portrait format, that'll automatically reduce the size of the image.
Oh. I don't know. I can't.
Hold the tree back, Hugo.
Yeah, if you can hear me, you can hear me, what do I have to do to make the tree more obvious to you?
Move it away. Hold it back further away from the camera. That's it. Keep doing that. There we go. Now we can see it. You turn it around as well.
It's a juniper, informal upright.
No, just trying to see it go to waste.
And it's got six areas of growth, and I've been pinching the top one part all the time. What else can I do with it?
You want not even a line.
Luke, can you lead off with a discussion about Hugo's tree? I've just got some people who are trying to join. I'm trying to send them the link.
No worries. No worries.
Yep.
Carry on.
Where's Hugo? I've lost Hugo.
Hugo thought you were talking to him.
Oh, there he is. Kath Welling. Right. That'll be...
It is Kath Welling, not Hugo Welling.
Okay, I can see you, Hugo. All right. So
Yeah.
I can see you and hear you, Hugo. Can you hold the tree up for me again, mate? I've lost you.
If we could get Heather to mute her microphone, it might be easier.
Yeah,
Okay, hold on. I've just got to. I'm not sure where it is. I'll get Phil to have a look. He's
What's
just
he
got
doing?
it. Can you mute it, please?
Yeah.
I don't know where the mute is.
You just see the sign there, says mute.
All right, so we've gone back to Brian there. So Brian and Gail, if you mute yours for a second, it should go back to Hugo. All right, Hugo, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, all right, we've got you back. Fantastic.
Okay.
All right, so tell us the story about this tree, Hugo.
Well, it's a juniper. It's got informal upright, and it's got 6 areas of growth. There are 2 at the rear, at the back, and I'll start on the bottom. There's one very low down, only a couple of inches from the bottom and going down. And then the next one is on the other side, on the right. So it's my right one. Then I got 2 at the rear, one slightly away from the other. And then I've got on the top, I've got one on, well, looking at it here on the right side, and then the very top of the tree, which is slightly curled down. It's slightly waving down. And all of them are sort of like in a pyramid shape, pyramid. And I've been pinching all the tops away, you know, what you do with these juniper trees. You know, I've been pinching the top off to make the growth better. And whenever I prune it, I've been watering it first. They told me water them first and they won't go so dry, so brown. So that's more or less all I can say about this tree. And of course, I've been giving it the right food and drink, water and so on. And it's been in the constant sun, but under a shade cloth. And that's more or less all I can tell you about this. Can I improve in any way?
So what do you like about it or not like about it?
Well, I've been putting a very heavy wire around it to keep the shape, and I've been putting a hose, half a hose on it to protect the back.
But in terms of how the tree looks, its appearance, what is it that you like about it or don't like about it?
Well, I like the way the branches are, in my opinion, reasonably in the right position, but they don't get thick enough and they don't look nice, dark green enough to my liking. They look sort of almost getting away towards the brownish, but they're not brown, but they're not not looking fresh and green enough, and they're not thickening up enough.
All right, so what is it you're feeding the tree? What do you fertilize it with?
Well, I've got the slow release, and I use the what's it called? Sea
salt.
Sea salt, yeah.
Yeah. So sea salt doesn't have any nitrogen in it, so you need to use a liquid feed that has a source of nitrogen, like power feed.
All right, so it needs more nitrogen, you reckon? Okay.
Well, yeah, well, it's potentially why. I wouldn't have that tree under shade at all. I'd have it in full sun, so that might help a little.
Okay, I'll put that down, Luke. So
But generally, if something's looking not quite as green as it could be, then yeah, just a bit more nitrogen.
Yeah. Any iron? Iron?
Sorry,
Any iron? I-R-O-N. Iron.
well, I wouldn't think it's an iron deficiency, just a general all-purpose fertilizer that has some nitrogen in it should, I would think, would do the job.
Okay. And the pot is not too big, in your opinion?
Oh no, I think that pot is fine.
Yeah. I put the bag on to keep the sun off the roots earlier, you know, a couple of months ago. And I found that it was getting quite hot. So I kept the bag on there to take some of the heat instead of it going to the roots.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad idea, you know, particularly in summer to cover up the pot, stop the pot heating up.
Yeah.
Plenty of people will do that.
Yeah.
So in terms of the appearance of the tree, are you happy with the way it looks? It's the style that it's in now?
Well, the style, in my opinion, is informal upright, you know. It's got it looks a bit like a snake going from the bottom and then backwards, and then it's coming forwards again. And then I wanted to try the very top to go away from that line and move it more, you know, the different line, if you know what I mean. Instead of going in a straight line up, neutral sort of thing, I wanted the top to go the opposite direction.
Yeah, so just continuing the movement that's already there. If you've got a tree that has movement in some part of it, then yeah, it makes sense to continue that movement throughout the tree. And don't change the top, you reckon? A different direction. Say this is all going sort of backwards, forward first, backwards, coming forward again, and the top is forward. But instead of being forward, how about it going to either the left or the right? Well, that just depends how you want the tree to feel. A tree where the apex, the top of the tree, finishes in the same direction as the movement at the bottom of the tree, will feel a bit more relaxed. Whereas a tree that finishes at the apex heading in the opposite direction to the direction that the tree starts at the base, will have much more visual tension in it. So it will look quite different.
Okay. Okay, I won't bother doing that then, Luke. Thanks for that.
Oh no, well, it's up to you, just depending on how you want it to look. So at the base of the tree, if you're looking at the front of the tree, does the trunk first head to the left or the right?
It slightly goes to the right.
Okay.
And backwards.
Yeah, okay, but it heads to the right. Right, so if you were to create a fairly relaxed looking image with that tree, then you'd have the apex of the tree finishing, heading towards the right.
Okay.
Starts towards the right.
Okay.
Whereas if you have the tree, the apex heading to the left, it will feel quite different if the tree is starting at the right end.
Okay.
And finishes by heading towards the left, it will make it feel quite different.
All right. Well, I'll aim a little bit for the right end, Luke. The apex, I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, you helped me a lot. Thanks very much.
No worries. But would anybody else like to comment on Hugo's tree?
I think they were scared of me.
No, Hugo, we're not scared of you. The only other thing I did think of when I first saw it was it leans. Hugo, can you just hold it up so I can actually see it again, please?
Hold it up?
Yep, just hold it up.
I'll show it to you from the front.
Hold it up so I can actually see the whole tree. Where it bends in that U shape, and for me it goes left to right. So, and Hugo's looking the other way around. is there a possibility of bringing the top down?
Down.
I mean, I'm
What?
opening this to Luke and Matt now because it's probably a more advanced technique.
Further down than it is now?
You see where I'm trying to go with this one, Luke? Because it goes in a curving arc and then it goes straight up. You know, if you bring that back down.
Yeah.
It is quite strongly upright in that area.
Yeah, it's either that or it's very hard to assume or make a decision because I'm looking at a little screen.
Yeah, it's quite hard to see.
Where it curves around and then it starts to go straight, that would be where I'd cut it off.
Cut it off.
That was another option I did think of. I'm not saying do it, Hugo. Please don't. You know, it's your tree.
No.
Something I thought of. So, then that way it brings it down.
Yeah.
It's the whole tree into balance a bit better. For me.
In your opinion, it is too tall.
Yeah, basically. That's my opinion, though.
That's all right.
You do whatever you want here because it's your tree. It lives at your house.
Yeah.
You know, whatever I tell you, just take with a grain of salt because I'm certainly no expert in all this. But to me, it just seems to be just that fraction too straight and too high.
Okay.
It goes around that arc.
Well, for the time being, I'm going to leave it as it is. I hope you won't lose any sleep over it, Alan.
No. And in fact, that's probably a good idea because through winter, it allows the green to get back your energy back into your tree.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Is that a fair comment, Luke? Matt?
Yeah.
I think the question to ask for Hugo to ask himself is before we say, you know, Alan says or I say or anybody says it should be shorter, taller, bigger, smaller, or, you know, anything, is, you know, Hugo's the bonsai artist. You know, what is the image that he wants to create? You know, does he want to create the image of a tree that is growing in the middle of a forest and that's why it's growing tall and straight as it heads up looking for the light? Or does he want to create the image of a tree that's growing on a mountainside and being battered by something or other, and that's why it is growing with far more movement and is perhaps looking more stunted? You know, that's the question, you know, before we say bend it to the left, right, up, down, or, you know, cut it, grow it, or anything, is what is, you know, that forget it's a tree for a moment, we're just creating an image here. What is the image that you want to create? And once we know that, then we know how to proceed.
Yeah.
Phil,
thanks, Alan, and thanks, Luke.
No worries.
Just a comment. Hugo, a comment, and the thought in coming out of Europe at the moment and America from a couple of people, young Klusak, Jennifer Price, and a couple of the others, is don't pinch any longer. Use a very fine pair of cutters, like, you know, rather than pinching, because they're saying that a lot of people are pinching and the pinching is actually damaging the end branches that you're leaving alongside. So go back to using a fine pair of scissors rather than brutally punching or pinching with your fingernails.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, all right, I will.
How is it that you're pruning the foliage on the tree, Hugo?
He said pinching.
Well, I've been doing with the scissors, but not now. I did that some time ago, and I think it was Philip who said spray water on them while you're doing that, and it seemed to make a little bit of a difference. It doesn't seem to brown up so much. So there must be something in it keeping it wet and cold. Yeah.
Hugo.
So when you cut it with scissors, Hugo, are you sort of cutting the tiny little leaves on a juniper that are only, you know, each little leaf's only about a few millimeters, really?
Yeah.
Are you cutting with the scissors sort of flat against the foliage so that some of the leaves get cut, or do you get down in and cut the shoot?
No, I'm trying to also shape the whole clouds, if you know what I mean. So if I see him sticking up higher on one side, I'll trim him a bit more and leave other areas, so that in the end I'm looking at a part of a pyramid with a flat bottom towards the trunk, a pyramid, and slightly up on one side and a little bit more down on the other for the shape of it.
Yeah. So what we're getting at is when you actually prune the foliage with your scissors,
Yeah.
are you pruning it so that some of the leaves are actually being cut, or are you just getting in and cutting the shoots?
The wooden bits. Yeah, no, I do actually get onto the wood bits as well, or the shoots as you call it, yes.
Yeah. So what I mean, so when we're looking at the just the very end of the foliage, so the green leaf part of the foliage,
yes.
If you get your sharp scissors in there and cut at an angle to the shoot so that you get in there, you're only cutting the shoot and not cutting any of the little leaves, then you won't have any browning at all. So I've just done a quick sketch.
Ah.
So how well the camera can see that.
Yeah.
So if here we go, this image here.
Yes.
If everybody can see that. If
I can.
If you are getting in, so that's the little, not a whole branch. This is just one little tuft of foliage.
Yeah.
If you get in there with your scissors on that angle,
yes,
you'll be able to cut through that little shoot without cutting any of the leaves, and then you won't have any browning on the leaves at all, because it's cutting through the individual leaves that makes it all brown off.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's a good trick. Yeah. All right, I'll observe that a bit better the next time, and cut it better.
Yeah, it's trickier to do. It's far easier just to get your scissors out and sort of go over the top of the foliage, sort of hedge prune style. Which makes a neat shape quite quickly, but it means that you're cutting some of the leaves. And that's when they'll brown off.
Brown off. Okay. All right. I never looked at it like that, Luke.
There you go.
Great. So it doesn't matter how old you are, you can always learn that, tell me.
There you go. You might be right.
Thanks, Luke.
That's all right. Does anybody else have any other comments on Hugo's juniper?
Okay, if I can just butt in, we've got a new member who's just joined us. Ben, hi Ben, how are you going?
Hey,
hello.
Ben just joined. He's very keen to learn, so we're throwing you into the deep end a little bit here, Ben. So we're just going around looking at different trees. I think the next one on the list, Brian's tree. We'll come back to this Trident Maple.
Okay, I'm just trying to unmute. Badly needs cutting back, but I've still got some leaves on it. So I think it's going to have to wait for a little while. But I don't really know as to how far back to take it and whether, in fact, I need to lose one of the major branches that's on it. If I go around the other side, turn around for you.
Yep.
Yep. So as you can, I don't know whether you can see, but I've actually got a fork in here. Yeah. So I don't know whether to take out or just to leave it alone and cut back the other branches. As you can see, I've got some crossing ones and some very, very long ones.
Gail,
Yes.
can you put your finger on the, go back to where you were, please, just rotate to your right, I've lost the image, I've got Hugo.
Start talking, Gail.
So is that,
That's it. Go back to where you were, keep going.
Other way.
Other way, that's it. Now, can you put your finger on the one on your right?
that's this one?
The other one, yeah, put your finger on the top of it. No, other one.
The other one.
No, the one on your right.
Yep.
That's it. Now rotate the tree for me, please.
Rotate the tree.
Leave your finger where it is. I'm just trying to see.
Yep.
Keep going. Keep going. Yeah, you see, I'd take that out. Stop there. I'd take that one out.
Yeah, that's what I wondered.
And run your finger down to the fork below. Keep get there. I'd take it out and just leave a tiny little bit. Go back to a bud there on both of that, the left and the right fork. Then you've still got a dominant trunk on my left.
On this one?
Yeah, that continues the dominant trunk.
Yeah.
But if you cut those where your finger is now,
Cut
those at the lowest bud point, you'll have removed the competing trunk.
Right, yep, okay.
What worth, that's an opinion.
Where's the front of the tree, please?
Well, that's what I thought I had.
There's the front of the tree.
Okay, thank you.
So we're looking at the front of the tree now.
Yes, you are.
So go and put your finger on what I said to cut off so I can actually work out whether I've got the right one.
Right,
Yeah.
this one
Yeah.
here.
I would cut that back very severely. Luke, Matt?
So deciduous trees can grow in a number of different formats. So they can have a single trunk line, or they can have what people tend to refer as broom, or broom-like, where you can have a number of, you don't have a single trunk line really with a broom style. You have these number of thickened sections that make up the structure of the tree, rather than a trunk line with branches all radiating from that single trunk line, and lots of variations somewhere between the two of single trunk line and the deciduous tree built from much more complicated structure. So this tree at the moment, that maple, is kind of somewhere in between the two. It does have more of a single trunk line, and so what Bill's talking about is taking away thicker sections of branching that compete with that single trunk line.
Yeah.
Which is one perfectly valid thing to do. But if you were going down the road of it's looking like a deciduous tree that has, does have thicker sections there that make up, somewhat more, I don't really like using the term broom, but most people are familiar with it, to make that more broom-like structure, then that's also another valid way to do it, because deciduous trees can and do grow in that way. So it's really, just as I said to Hugo, it's really up to how you want it to look and how it makes you feel. If you look at some of the thicker sections and think, well, I really do feel that they do look a bit too thick and ungainly, then time to get those cutters out and take them off. I suppose the easy thing to do is just to do what I call hunting for internodes, which is just to cut away any long secondary and tertiary branches that have really long internodal growth there. So branches that have a long space in between each of the nodes.
And most of them do, because it hasn't ever been properly pruned.
Yeah, so you'll probably find that if you were to get in there and cut away those longer sections that have long internodes, then you'll be left with far less than you've got now.
Exactly.
And that will do, two things. It'll make the tree look, different to begin with. And it'll also enable you to look in there and see a bit better. Whilst there are these longer sections with long internodes, you sort of look at it and think, well, where do I start?
Yes. Yeah.
So without needing to think about it too much, you can, in a fairly just mechanical fashion, just cut out the sections that have long internodes.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, you'll then be able to have a look at the thicker sections of branching that Philip's talking about and decide whether, yep, I like that big, thick, gnarly section there. I think it looks good, or no, I think it looks too thick and ungainly, and then it's time to cut it away.
Right.
In terms of the overall, this is a little bit down the track, but in terms of the finished appearance of the tree, once we've got the branches sorted out and you're actually building the finished silhouette on this tree, what I like to see personally in deciduous trees is, rather than having a overly symmetrical looking canopy, you end up with a rounded canopy. You keep all those branches upright as they are, as the deciduous tree would grow like that, and build a somewhat rounded canopy, but ending up with a canopy that's divided into a couple of parts, and the shape of that is decided by where those thicker sections branching are. So I've done a little sketch, and so where we have where we have thicker sections of branching, that dictates where the growth is going. We've got a thicker branch, which is thicker because it's carrying more secondary, tertiary branching. It's carrying more foliage, which was why you would have more foliage protruding in that area. So rather than just having one rounded silhouette, we've got a silhouette here that's made up of a sort of couple of sub areas.
Yeah.
So where there is a thicker branch, that naturally carries out a bit further. And so rather than just having this these broom style trees, which are just the sort of one rounded silhouette over the top, whereas this has been broken up into a couple of areas.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I obviously have work to do when it's time to do it.
I can say something. Gail, you were saying you bought this at the 2015 convention?
Was it 2015, was it?
That's the last one we had in Adelaide. So it's well overdue for a repot as well. And similar to what we were saying with the Japanese maple, with Heather's Japanese maple, come spring, or sorry, late winter, before the buds start to burst, take it out, give it a bare root it, like comb out all the roots, wash it out with a jet of water, get rid of all the old soil, and take back about 2/3 of the roots.
All right.
Same again, like B, it's a Trident Maple, it'll respond really well. And by doing that, and this is similar to what we were saying with Heather's tree, I'm looking at this tree and I can see it's got a really nice trunk with really nice taper, and you've got the beginnings of the main branches. So you've got the primary branches around the place, and you started to get the secondary branches coming as well. Now time, and as Luke was saying, and I agree that get rid of all those long leggy bits, take them right back really hard to reveal the structure, just like Luke was saying. And then as Phil was saying, you might want to get rid of that secondary apex, but it might work. But clear it out first, and be quite brutal with it, because really it's those tertiary branches that you want to be working on now. You want to start getting it really twiggy. And I drew a little picture as well. I'm looking, it's very similar to Luke's. You can see, yeah, same thing.
Right.
But once you get that twigginess going, it'll be a nice silhouette.
It's uncanny. I think we might have our brain connected somehow. You know, we draw these things and they look the same.
Yeah, my pot looks a bit different. But yeah, now is the time. Now is to stop letting it grow unchecked. You need to now take control, because it's a nice tree and you want to take control of it now. And so come summer, so repot it, trim off a lot of the roots. By taking off a lot of the roots, the resulting growth won't be as strong. Let it grow so you get that first flush, let it go. And when it starts to harden off, when those first pairs of leaves at the base of each shoot start to go darker green, cut it back hard, back down to the first or second pair. And also take out the larger leaves, let the light in there. And you could defoliate it several times over quite happily. But bring it up come summer, show it to us again, and we can talk about it again. But for now, I'd be taking, exactly as everyone has said, take off those long whips, take them right back to the very first pair, because it's a Trident Maple, they grow in pairs, the leaves grow in pairs, take it back to the first pair, and then you can play around a bit with which of those major branches you want to keep. I'm just repeating what everyone else said now. But it really needs a repot. Give it a repot and it'll respond really well.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much indeed. I appreciate that.
Gail, Philip.
Yeah.
I think your root, your Nabari, is absolutely brilliant. Try and preserve as much of that above soil root growth as you can. So when you do cut it back at the roots, make sure that all the root ends that are below soil remain below soil to keep the roots that are exposed.
Yes.
Exposed. And the other thing you might do, where I'm looking at it, sort of to the right, you've got a piece of branch that has been cut off and left a nice little horse eye. Get a small needle pick, and dig that out a little bit so it becomes more of a feature rather than, oops, somebody's cut me here.
Right, yeah. Okay, because on the other side, on the back side, there is a couple of very large ones. You can see where it has...
Do the same thing. Just slowly but surely dig them out so that they become features rather than anything else.
Right.
And even this one?
Yep, I would, Brian. But Brian, remember, my leaning is to the Chinese style more than the Japanese style, and that sort of thing becomes a real feature. See the one that you pointed to, the one below that and slightly to the right? No, that is the sort of thing that you're aiming to create.
Right.
Remember that I'm from the Chinese school, not the Japanese school.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Chinese or Japanese aside, I know, Philip's right, it's stylistically quite different, but when you have a tree like that that has wounds from where the trunk has been reduced, you end up with these scars, and it'll take my lifetime and yours before they maybe all heal over. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But what you have the opportunity to do is, instead of just having a flat cut, is to do as Philip's saying and hollow them out.
Right.
Now the way to do that is to do what's termed undercutting, where you take a power tool, if you're using one, or a chisel, and hollow out that wound, any of the wounds there, but hollow it out such that you've got sort of right under where the living cambium part is, so that the living cambium part can then roll over into that hollowed out wound, and it will make it look very much like a natural hollow, where a branch has died and come away, and the weather or the termites or whatever have got in there and hollowed it out naturally, and it will look very natural. So
Right,
carving,
Yep. So if we go into this one and use maybe a drill chip to get in there and take all that darker piece out around there and get down a millimetre or so, when it comes up, it will start to look like that.
Yes. And
Yeah,
what
that's
you
right.
do, even with that one, Brian, even with that one, if you get a very, very sharp knife or a Dremel, and you just very, very lightly take away the surface bark and expose the cambium, and it will continue to roll over. It'll smooth over and look incredibly beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah.
Okay. With the one above, if you're doing that there, will it continue to cover that, or will it leave the dimpling that's in there as?
No, just hollow, in my opinion, I just hollow it out.
Okay. All right.
I agree with Phil. You just hollow it out as much as you like. The other thing that will make it look more natural is the shape of the wound itself. So where we have a branch that's been cut away, you tend to end up with that shape there.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look all that natural. The shape that will look natural is one like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Brian, turn it around on the back, you may join the two of them together, and then that would look quite spectacular in my book.
All
so
right.
go from there
That one and that
and bring
Take that big middle and break that open. Don't let it widen, but have it sort of egg and then egg. You know, big egg on little egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
I think it's a really neat little tree.
Yeah. I think it has potential in the proper hands. It would have probably been very good by now.
You're doing well. You're doing well.
I hadn't realised I'd had it for 5 years though, and it's just, oh, for goodness sake. Yeah. It would have been better if I'd done something more with it.
Yeah, but
If you started 50 years ago, it would be better, but starting today, still just as good.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't have another 50 years to go, you see.
I think a few of us got that problem.
But Gail, having just letting it grow at least would have thickened up those branches, especially those lower ones.
Yes.
So, because if I imagine that about 60 years ago, that those branches would have been a lot thinner, and
Yes.
by letting them thicken up, they're actually now in better proportion.
Right.
Sometimes when you get a beautiful stump like that with a really nice taper, and you get tiny little wiggly branches, really thin little straggly things, it doesn't look, as Janet says, an old tree needs old branches.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been wasted. You've
No.
thickened up. So yeah, now it's time to get on to the next stage. I think it's a lovely tree. It's got enormous potential. I like it.
So when we
Thank
repot it, should we put it into a larger pot to encourage the upper growth, or should we keep it back in a pot of about the size it's in at the moment?
For me, it's now about controlling the growth. You want to slow the growth down. I wouldn't be putting it into a large growth pot. That stage is now over. You're now into the refinement stage.
Right.
Yeah, small pot. Don't go crazy with the fertilizer. I tend to not fertilize it at the beginning of spring until I usually wait on a deciduous tree that's in its refinement stage. I don't fertilize it until you've got that first little flush of growth. Otherwise, you just undo all the good you've done. You get long internodes and large leaves. So I usually hold off the fertilizer for that first growth, and then once you're into sort of late spring, then start fertilizing it heavy. But a light touch initially.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I add?
Yep.
Bjorn and a couple of the others, Walter Paul, do not fertilise their deciduous trees until past the peak of summer. Then they prune them and fertilise them like crazy, control the growth, but that means they've got lots of energy to get through the winter which means they've got a good flush of growth first thing in the spring. So they don't fertilise until after the peak of summer.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Interesting. Hmm. Yeah.
Good.
And a glazed pot.
And of course.
Insert commercial here.
If you need a pot, come and see us.
Were you offering it to Luke, were you?
Okay. Now,
Thank
Bill,
you.
no worries. I know Phil's got a tree there. Luke's got a tree as well. Luke, did you want to talk about your tree?
Oh, well, I brought something along to do, as usual, a pot discussion. It's as much about the tree and pot matching exercise, but I brought that along just as a prop, depending on how many other people had trees to talk about. Does our new friend Ben have a tree there?
No, I've lost him.
We've lost our new friend.
Oh no, he's here. I don't think he has. I'll be honest, he's only just joined. I don't think he does. No, I can't see him here. He's gone blank on us. But also notice that Rod has just put up a tree as well.
Oh, okay.
Luke,
Rod's tree.
discussion about suitable pots as well.
Okay, well, since we've already talked about one of Phil's, shall we get on to Rod's and then we'll go over to Phil's?
Right, this is a Crepe Myrtle that I've grown from seeds in 2014, and it was looking a bit just straight, and I chopped a piece out of there, a branch out of there, and now it's growing on here, and I'm sort of thinking this is all too long, and my thoughts are to sort of cut it perhaps in half.
Below, just above where your thumb was.
About there?
Yep, keep going, that'll do.
Out there.
Okay. Now,
can you see the buds on it, Rod?
Yeah, there looks to be a couple just here.
Yep.
It's pretty hard to tell because of the bark. It's whether it's the bark or not, but that looks like a couple of nodes there.
Yeah, cut just above that.
Now, these were left to try and sort of get some growth here, but that's got very spindly, and this is not really in the right place. Do you think that if I chop that down there and take all of that off and start again, just let it start again?
For Rod, for what it's worth, I'd take the one on my left, your right, off where your thumb was, and I would leave the one on my right, your left, to grow and thicken and see if you can develop. If you look at crepe myrtles in the ground, they have multiple trunks going in every different direction. If you take the one on my right, your left off, you'll be left with a very lopsided tree, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I was actually sort of thinking perhaps of lowering that back as well.
Yep, and then pray that you get shoots further down.
Yeah, and leave this one and hope that it grows on and thickens up. Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, I've got a crepe myrtle. You can cut them back hard, and it will reshoot, no problem at all. Well, cut them both back hard.
Yeah.
Both those two branches, I'd cut them both hard, and and let the little whippy one let it grow for a bit, and you can get twigginess in a crepe myrtle really, really, really quickly. So over a season, over just a single season.
Yeah.
So cut it back, let the shoots grow. Once you get to a stage where you want it to get twiggy, you just let each shoot grow because the leaves come out in pairs. Let it get to about 3 or 4 pairs, take it back to 1 pair, 3 or 4 pairs, 1 pair. You can do that multiple times over the one season, and even partially defoliate it over summer, and it will respond with more more back budding, more growth. They back bud really easily. So I wouldn't be shy about cutting those back quite hard.
Right.
About where Phil said, I reckon spot on.
Yeah, so down here.
Yeah.
Well, this one came about because I cut that off.
Yep.
And that was, so that's 2 growing seasons.
Yep.
and with lack of attention, and that's what you finish up with.
Well, it's good because it's thick nicely, and that second that branch is now what, 2/3, about half, or about 2/3 the width of the trunk, maybe half. So that's good. That's exactly what you want. It's got nice taper there. Cut it back again. Do the same process again.
Right. Okay.
Exactly what you've done. Just do it again, and you'll be rewarded with more branches, and then it'll start getting interesting. You'll be able to pick out which branches you want for the main shape. But yeah, no, I think that's good.
Well, if anyone's looking for seeds for these, they came from Bath Street down at Glenelg. They're growing in the street.
My other comment would be, do not cut both at the same height.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. Sort of. Yeah. This one and that one.
Yeah. Always had. Well, you want the thicker one to be the more dominant, so cut the thinner one lower than the other one.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yep. That's better. That's And leave a little bit for it to dry off and die back.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
So you cut below, go 1 node above where you want it, and cut it immediately below that node.
Yeah, as I said, there looks to be a node there, but this one looks to have a node about there.
Right, so go up 1 node and cut immediately below that, and let that die back.
Do this one up here.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then once it's dried out and died back, and you've got your shoots, then you can clean up that stub.
Yes, yeah, here, yeah. Yeah, I'll do what you were talking about earlier on the maple.
Yeah, Crepe Myrtles are also really good at healing over and callousing and producing interesting hollows. If you see a big Crepe Myrtle where a branch is snapped off, the bark will roll over that stump quite nicely. And Trident Maple make all sorts of interesting.
That's just starting to do it, but this is probably a little bit high in the middle.
Yeah, take it out a little bit.
Take it out. It would help.
Hold it out.
Talked about Brian, as we talked about with Brian, hollow it out.
Yeah.
Ambient and let it roll over.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Well done. You've done well to get that by seed. Crepe Myrtles, I reckon, are underrated species. I reckon they make great bonsai. Yeah, beautiful bark.
Yeah, that's what attracted me to the tree in the street was the bark. And I thought, well, I'll have a go at this. Grabbed a handful of seeds off it.
Well done. Well,
the only thing I'd add, once you want to put that tree up again, is when you make that cut, just make sure that you don't make the length of the cut section the same length as the original section of trunk. I've seen that a lot of times where
don't measure like that.
Yeah, you need to make sure that second section is either longer or shorter, preferably probably shorter than the first section of trunk. I see lots of trees, beginners trees being made where you end up with this kind of formulaic situation.
Yeah.
Because they're all the same length and all doing the same thing. Whereas if you make, so here's the first section of trunk, if you make that second section either longer or shorter, but preferably shorter than that first section, then you'll end up with something that looks far more natural and not as formulaic as the Deciduous. So just as long as it's not the same length.
Not the same. Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can you strike myrtle cutting?
You can take cuttings from Crepe Myrtles. I've never actually done it myself, but you can do it, yes. But yeah, look it up online. I haven't got any advice on how to take a cutting from Crepe Myrtle.
I'm trying to think. Lee Wilson, Sydney, has done aerial layers on them where he's picked a trunk that's, 8 or 10 inches thick, aerial-laid it and finished up with something quite incredible.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Matt.
Phil, do you want to have a look at your tree?
It's not the tree so much, because I'm more or less happy with what I'm doing with the tree. If you can see it, my intention is to, cut these back and so on, and kick this little bit here, kick that bit there, but I want to let them go a little while. But my question is pot, Luke. Oh, sorry, it's a crab apple grown from seed, 5 years, but it's been potted 3 times in that 5 years. And I put it in this one 2 years ago, and it's thickened up beautifully.
Does it flower?
No, but it comes from parent stock that was quite a vibrant pink, and the foliage goes a beautiful copper red in the autumn.
Nice.
So I'm really growing it for the autumn foliage, and that's what I'm trying to get. So I've got a selection of pots. I don't know. I've got. Let me pull it back a little bit, and I'll show you the pots. My inclination at the moment is to. I don't know. Can you see all those or not?
Yeah, I can see.
So, Luke, my preference is my thought process is the second from the left.
The olive greeny one. This one.
Sorry, we're going all. I'm just.
This one?
Yeah. To me, it has a lot of character in it.
All right, well, if the leaf colour and potentially flower colour are on the red side of the spectrum, so warm colours, if you do have a complementary colour, that the green will really make the red stand out.
So you're talking about the lime greeny one, or the next?
Well, any green, any green there will make the reddy colours stand out more. What's the final planting angle of the tree to be?
Pretty well as it is now, straight up, and it's got this huge dogleg in the trunk. But I'm quite happy with that, because what I'm trying to do is it's hard to see on the video, but it actually is quite reasonable. So we're down to those 3 pots already.
Yeah, okay. All right, so if the planting angle is going to be the same,
doesn't mean to say it has to be. The other planting angle I thought of was to tip it.
Yeah. Okay, the only reason I ask is that if the planting angle is strongly vertical, then your eye is carried from bottom to top and up out of the image. And if you have a pot that is round, which is also a static shape, then you're left with a pot that has no movement left to right, and a tree that has less movement left to right than it does in that vertical sense. So if the tree, because I think the tree would actually look good in the round pot, that static shape, but if the tree is planted so just as it is now, so that it's just off of the vertical, then your eye should hopefully be carried around the whole image a bit more than it would if the planting angle was so strongly vertical. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So we're down to those 2 pots.
Yeah, well, the green would make the reddy colours sing, I would think.
You've lost a pot, darling.
Oh, what do you Pink.
I brought that one back from China for you.
Yeah, I know, but that wasn't the yellow one. It's supposed to be yellow for me, but it wasn't yellow. It's
All right, so you don't mind the artwork on the pot?
At one time, I wouldn't have liked it, but it is what it is. It's interesting. You know, it certainly makes you look at it. You know, and that's what this is about. You know, this is a visual art, and there's no doubt about it. That pot is a visual artwork. What it makes you think and feel, well, that's up to the individual viewer, I suppose. I guess if you have to dig a bit deeper and say, all right, well, you know, what is the particular sense of place or season or emotion or something that you're trying to convey with the tree, and the same with the pot, and do those two things match up or not? You know, what is that pot making you think and feel, and what is that tree making you think and feel, and do they actually mesh together? Or am I getting too deep and meaningful?
No, I think you're right, but to me, the round pot, the circular pot, the light greeny coloured one, is too big for what I see in the future. The speckled one, which is rectangular square on my right, it would be my preferred tree, even though it's a squarish pot. I don't know. I'm just looking for input. I'll make my own decision eventually, but
Bill, can we see the picture? Can we see the picture on the pot up close?
Yep. Hang on.
What's the picture of?
I don't know. Where's the lens?
Oh yeah. Yep. That's
So
a landscape.
it's a landscape with Chinesey type.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Trees and birds and yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind it, to be honest. You know, I've got a funny feeling. You know, when we have one of our regular meetings, if there are a row of trees on display and one of them has a little flower on it or a little fruit or something on it, you know where all those little glass green glass tokens go? Next to it. And I've got a funny feeling that people will see that happy little pot and think, oh, have a look at that. And that's where all your green glass tokens will go. It's an eye-catching little pot.
It is.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I won't be unhappy if that's where I decide to put it, but I think it's probably a fraction big for what I envisage for the tree, though.
Yeah, I agree, Phil. I think it's a bit too big. However, but it depends how big your tree's going to end up.
Well, that's it.
But I think also, yeah, a crabapple is a showy tree, and I think that pot will be fine. I think a crabapple is capable of holding attention away from that pot once it's in flower or it's got its nice coloured autumn. I tend to grow a smaller pot, and I always prefer a tree to come out at an angle, unless it's formal. But I always prefer it to come out at an angle. In which case, if it's coming out of an angle, I think it's a much smaller pot, and your little rectangular one there would work quite nicely.
Can I offer another alternative?
Yeah, go.
Just as part of the conversation. Can you see me, Philip?
Yep.
Okay. I picked this one up, one of our conventions, but it's Japanese, and I don't know if you can see that. Where are we? No, maybe not, because I've got green.
Yeah, I see it.
It's very shallow, so this is way too shallow for that, but it's square. And I've just held it up against your tree, sort of, and visually, and it looks to me quite good. But then that's me. Again, this is your tree. Now, if you came up with something like that, that's slightly larger than this, a bit deeper, with a wider square, thin, flat top to it, that might also look okay, but in a brighter colour. This is blue.
Alan, hold the pot up for me, please.
I don't know if you can you see that?
Luke.
No.
Luke.
This didn't come from Luke. I'll tell you that now, and it did cost me a fair bit of money because it's made by.
Luke, please say something.
So,
Luke.
Oh, they're very expensive, Phil.
You remember 2 years ago I asked you for one of those in blue?
If
It's on the list.
If you remember, Joe
Well-
Naylor's got a purple one.
Look, it's exactly what I wanted.
I'll go and make one now.
Well, get hop to it.
Sorry,
But that's the sort of shape I drew for you, and that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Something like a really wide lip.
We better ask Heather. Is he allowed to have another pot?
Do you really want the truth?
What do you want? New fridge?
No, we're just about to buy a new house. I don't think we can afford another pot. This house.
well,
But Luke,
Christmas is coming.
Luke,
Yes, Heather.
if you see this colour, like that colour, can you see that pot or not?
Yeah.
Just do it that colour without all the trimmings. Without all the
No,
fancy design on it. No,
for you.
no, for your pot.
No.
It's for your plant.
Started.
Don't you love these demands on television?
All right, moving on.
But you see the pot, Luke, seriously, that's what I was after. And
Mm.
that's what we saw in Japan. A lot of the flowering trees, the crab apples and some of the quinces were in pots exactly like Alan held up.
Yep.
And Alan, you've seen them in the nurseries, eh?
Oh, I did. I mean, that's why I bought that. I mean, this was made by a good friend of mine in Tokonami. So, you know, it's not cheap, but that's what I want.
The issue for us in South Australia is that they're way too shallow.
Oh, that one's, yeah. For that tree, that's too shallow, that pot. So something probably, I mean, I can't tell how big your tree is there, but my guess would be a third longer again on the flat bit, but certainly a lot deeper. So maybe 2 to 3 inches deep. So it's a square shaft but with a flat top to it.
I won't be able to see that.
That's right.
And Heather, I hope you don't know where I live.
8 measure, that's 10 centimetres.
Okay, so you want to go 10.
See, my goal is to have the tree no higher than 15 or 16, maybe even 18. But, you know, my goal is to have the tree there.
So yeah, I would say an 8 centimetres deep would be the max. So that's 2 inches. So I like where my finger ends. So it's square base, and then this thing's probably a third larger, square all the way around. And it's oblong on the top, it's not square. So
Yeah,
I don't know if
but they all were. None of the ones we saw in Japan were square. They were all rectangular.
yeah, they're all oblong. So and if you perfect his, Luke, then I might think about buying one too.
Well, if I don't let him buy it, then you might be able to have it instead.
The key with these, though, is they have to be thin. They can't be thick and chunky. The flat top is very thin and elegant. It's almost a feminine type pot, if that makes sense.
Ideally, you want something like that with the square lip.
Yeah, with a flat top on it.
Yeah.
But instead of it being angled, it's straight down.
Yep.
This one's straight down. It goes straight down. It doesn't come in on an angle.
No.
Certainly not on the inside anyway.
Thank you, Luke.
No worries, Phil.
And are you likely to be alive tomorrow morning, Philip? No.
I think I'm safe. She's not in the room.
She's packing her bags already.
Okay, I'm going to have to go because one of my kids is having a meltdown. So, Luke, I'm going to make you the host. That's all right?
Sure, yeah.
Yep, just hang on a sec. I'm going to...
Thanks, Matt, for hosting.
Yeah, thank you, Matt, for being so prompt and getting me in. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries, Ben. I'll catch up with you later and
Awesome.
we'll try and sort this out for the next one. I got to go, but see you later, everybody. Might see you on Saturday morning for the next session. Yeah, I got it. Oh dear, I really have to go. All right, see you, everyone.
All right. So Where did we get to? Have we done Phil's tree and pot combo to death? Is that done?
I'm happy. I'm
Yeah.
waiting for pot.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any more questions about about that tree and pot situation? Just how that all works together? No, I don't think so. All right. Now our new friend Ben. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you.
Did you have a tree that you'd brought along at all, or any questions at all, or?
No, I literally got in touch with the nursery that's on Anzac Highway earlier in the week. He put me on to Matt. I called him on Friday, and now you see me here. I am totally new to bonsai. I've never done anything like it before, but I've long had, I guess, a passion that I would have liked to have indulged in a long time ago. So now is the time to start, I guess.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, no time like the present.
Yep.
Yeah, and so have you purchased yourself a little tree from the nursery on Anzac Highway, or are you still?
No. I literally thought, all right, well, I'm going to do this, and I know absolutely nothing about it other than I'm, just quite enamored by the aesthetic of it. And so I want to, start getting involved, so I know, what I need to do in order to start moving towards getting a plant and a pot and, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, well, maybe between the few people we've got here tonight, we could put our heads together and perhaps let Ben know if you were going to purchase a first tree or two, what they would be. Trees that are relatively easy to keep alive and style and make into something neat. If I was to make a suggestion, I would say one of the ficus species, a little fig like Port Jackson fig. I think a great value, and probably juniper, one of the squamata junipers that you see around a lot. They're easy to bend into shape and make an interesting tree fairly quickly. Does anybody else have any trees that they would say, oh yes, if you're going to start, this is the tree you have?
And olive.
If you're going to start, you need to visit Philip. He's got a backyard full of trees that have to go.
Cool. I am actually on quite a tight budget. I'm a student. I'm studying food science and technology at Regency. So I'm not working full time. I'm not working actually. I'm studying. So I've got to try and, to begin with, at least.
Cheap.
Yes.
Luke, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Well, I'm inviting Ben, if he would like to come to my place, and I introduce him to some of the trees what I have, and I'll give him as much information as he asks for. We just have to arrange for you the date and the time. Is that all right with you, Ben?
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
I'll give you my telephone number now. That is the landline. All right. Have you got a pen?
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. 8 3 5 2
8352
1 4
14
6 60.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll
Well,
repeat
there
it.
you go, Ben. You can see we're...
8.
Sorry?
Frozen.
5 2 1 4 6 0.
Yes.
Give me a ring when it suits you.
All right, fantastic.
My name is Hugo.
Hugo.
Yeah.
Excellent. Cool. Thank you.
You go where I go, all right?
The other thing, Ben, welcome, by the way, is that
Thank you.
I believe that, well, Matt's not here at the moment, but Luke may know some more about it. But in a couple of weeks, we're going to be having a dig for olives down south, and it costs nothing to go and dig them up. So you can have
meltdown
trees you like. But olives are not bad either. So.
All right, awesome. That would be wonderful.
And you'll never kill them.
What suburb do you live in? What suburb are you?
I'm in Mile End.
Okay.
Well, I've got a backyard full of trees at Salisbury.
Awesome.
They're being babysat. So if you want to give your details to Matt or Luke, and or Matt's got your details, I'll get Matt to pass on my phone number as well, and we'll arrange to come and have a look at what I've got. I've literally got 100 trees or more to get rid of.
Wow. Yes. All right. Awesome.
He's also got lots of pots.
The king of
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Ben. Hi, this is Brian.
G'day. How are you?
You're looking at a contorted tree which was perpendicular when we first got it.
Wow.
And we have folded it around and twisted it
Dennis!
to within an inch of its life a couple of times, and that's what it looks like now.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So the hardest thing you'll have to come to terms with, I think, is when you start to look at trees and start to think, well, we've got to cut it, and you don't want to cut it. What happens if I cut it and make a mistake?
Yeah.
And you're going to make some mistakes and say, well, okay, we can't use super glue to put it back. We'll just carry on from there and seek some guidance. People who are a little more experienced than we are.
Yes.
And there are plenty of people within the club who will be ready to offer experience.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, the easiest ones to get going, and Luke will support this easily, your olives, your figs, and figs you can take cuttings from tiniest little bits and get them going. So when you end up getting your tree, if you do have a fig, you prune it off, stick those cuttings in pots, and you'll end up with more, and you'll end up with more than you need.
Yeah.
But there's that. So there's figs, olives, the juniper, and another one that a lot of people sort of poo-poo, jade plants, because you can get a ready form for those things. And basically, once you let the bit you cut off callus over or dry out and put it into a pot, you can then keep them neat and tidy with a pair of scissors. You don't need all the expensive tools.
Yeah, cool.
And all those will let you practice and develop your skills. And as you go along the journey, you listen to all these people that are around you today. They'll give you all the experience and the knowledge. And that's the beauty part about being part of this organisation, because most of the experienced guys have been there, done that. And believe it or not, where you live at Mile End, your environment will be slightly different to where I am out at Para Hills.
Yeah.
So while we might have the same plant, they might grow differently. How you look after them will be slightly different, but you take on board that knowledge, and that helps you develop your skills and knowledge as well. So, yes, you'll lose trees. We all kill them. I'd probably lose one or two of some of myself, but welcome on board, and
awesome.
You'll be fine.
Thank you very much.
I think in terms of making a neat little bonsai without spending too many dollars, the way to do it is just to do it yourself, rather than buying something that's already potted up, labelled up as a bonsai. So a plant that's had some styling planted in a bonsai pot, can be, depending on where you buy them, can be a fairly expensive way to do it. But if you're to buy separately a small plant, like a juniper, one of the squamata junipers, that you can usually buy at a garden centre for $10 or $15 for a small squamata juniper. One of those, and a small pot if you wanted to put it into a small pot soon. Get you sort of a small bonsai pot for $10 or $15, and you can make a quite presentable little bonsai, without spending perhaps more than $25. You just got to dive in and do the work yourself. And we can show you how to do that. How to take a small juniper and clean out any unwanted foliage, wire the branches that are there into whatever shape this thing's going to be in, and make quite a neat little bonsai fairly quickly.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
So and that's the sort of thing that we teach at our monthly meetings and do hands-on at our regular workshops. It's obviously a little bit tricky to do that at the moment with the meetings being on hold temporarily, but I get the feeling we might be back sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, you might have heard from Matt already. We have some, well, at the workshop we're doing now, Matt's going to be doing another demonstration on Saturday morning.
Yep.
Has Matt or our secretary Annie talked you through joining the club?
Yeah, I sent an email to her, and I've paid my membership. And,
I just wanted to make sure that you get all of the emails.
Yeah, so she sent me one that had both this link, a link to the newsletter, which I've brought up on my computer.
Cool. Okay. All right. Sounds like you're up to date.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. The Zoom works really well. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's not bad. I think our if you get along hopefully soon to one of our regular meetings or regular workshops and see that there's maybe 50, 60, 70 people in the room all chatting and helping each other out, you'll think, oh wow. Hopefully make these Zoom meetings seem ordinary.
Yeah. Cool. Look forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah, so in the meantime, if you do want to grab yourself a small plant and probably one of the easiest things is just a small juniper. You get a small juniper for $10 or $15, and there's a million videos, YouTube videos and things out there on how to clean out and wire and style a small juniper. And have a play with that. And if it doesn't work well, you've only blown $10 or $15 on a juniper. Or it might be a roaring success.
Yeah, well, once I've sort of played around with it and got a little bit more confident in it, and I'm in a position later on down the line to start to get into some more pricey stuff, then that's where I'll go. But for the moment, I'm just going to make the most of what I've got. So that's what I'm doing.
All right. So, does anybody else have any trees or questions that we haven't discussed yet? Rod, Phil, Hugo, Gail, anybody else?
No, I'm done, all done.
Yeah, I'm finished. We got an early start in the morning. We're going up to Moota, so we'll call it quits. Good night, and thank you for your work.
Good night, kind sir. Travel safely.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks, Luke.
Good luck with it, Heather.
Thank you.
And Gail.
Talk to you soon. Okay.
Thanks again.
Right. And again, welcome, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, it looks like we're wrapping up, so I'll close the meeting and say thanks, everybody, and we'll see you all soon.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Luke. That was awesome. And thank you, everybody. Yeah, really enjoyed that.
Right.
No worries.
Good morning, Ben. Don't forget, if you've got John, 10 o'clock.
Yep. All right. Awesome.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
See ya.
Ciao, everybody.
All right, good night.